Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is English 454, Literary Criticism. This is the fourth lecture in the series, and we have done the theories of literary criticism, and we have also discussed Plato's theory about art. And today we are going to start with Aristotle. Aristotle was a student of Plato, but he's the one who does not follow whatever Plato has said. So he is going to tell you a different idea about arts. So let's start with Plato, because this is the last lecture that we had. And in the last lecture I told you about whatever Plato thought was wrong with art, or whatever his criticism was there or not. He was not a big admirer of arts. He was not a big admirer of poetry, and neither he was a big admirer of other forms of art. Plato was, he believed that art is a form of imitation, and besides he also believed that art is removed from reality. It makes you believe in things that are not real, because he believed in this theory of forms that we discussed previously. And the theory of forms said that there is something that originally exists in a realm of intelligibility, and that something is then copied in this physical realm, that's the world that is around us, and the artist or the painter or the poet then copies it from that copy of the eternal form. So art would become twice removed from reality. So this was the first criticism he made on art or literature, for that matter. So he says that something that is so far removed from reality could not be good for human soul. Why? Because he believed that human soul was immortal. And if something was immortal, something was going to live forever and ever and ever, then that something should be, kept with care. It should be handled with care. There should be a lot of thought process put into whatever is to be done with that particular thing. So if the soul is immortal, then things should be done so that the soul is not harmed in any way. So art, according to Plato, is not going to be of any help towards that care process that we are trying to develop for the soul. So the art is going to harm the soul because it is an imitation, and it is stopping you from pursuing virtue. Why? Because it is stopping you from thinking reasonably. आपको जो नज़र आ रहा है फिजिकल realm में, आप उस पर यकीन कर लेते हैं, आप उसको सच समझते हैं. जो भी आर्टिस्ट, जो भी ड्रामेटिस्ट है, ये जो भी पोएट है, वो अपने वर्ड्स के ज़रिए, अपने राइटिंग्स के ज़रिए एक इमेज क्रिएट करता है, एक इमिटेशन क्रिएट करता है. And common people who are not very intelligent, as far as Plato is concerned, when they, even at their best time, they are easily influenced by the images that are created by these artists, और वो उनको reality समझ लेते हैं. जब वो उनको reality समझ लेते हैं तो वो उन्हीं पे believe करना शुरू कर देते हैं, और जब वो उन्हीं पे believe करते हैं तो फिर वो असल चीज़ की तरफ जाने की कोशिश नहीं करते. They do not think logically, they do not pursue reason, and when they do not pursue the reason, they are of course not looking for truth. And when they're not looking for truth, that would be harmful for the soul that is immortal. So immortality of the soul plays a very important part in Plato ki theory. Why? Because he believes that if the soul is immortal, then it should not follow art, because it would affect the purity of the soul. So the question arises in Plato ki theory mein, how do we know that the soul is immortal? We know it because Plato says that he can prove it. Plato, if you remember that in the 10th book of Republic, Plato was, the mouthpiece of Plato was Socrates, because the entire book, Republic, jo hai, was written from the perspective of Socrates talking to his interlocutors, opponents. There's several people, there are 3 or 4 people in the book, and they're talking to Socrates. Socrates asks a question, they give an answer, then Socrates has something to say about it, and it goes on and on. So Socrates says that he believes that the soul is immortal. And how does he know that? Because he believes that everything that exists on this planet or in this world, in the physical realm, has an evil, has something that can destroy it. That is, the wood would rot, ठीक है, भुरभुरी होके गिर जाएगी. The iron would rust. The eyeball, there's a disease of eyeball which make it decay. So every part of your body is, subject to some kind of disease. It can be easily destroyed. So if everything can be destroyed, so soul should also be destroyed. You only need to know what is the evil of that soul. What is the particular thing that would destroy the soul? So Plato thinks that injustice is the particular evil of the soul. That is one thing that is going to make the soul, that is going to destroy the soul. So he says that if the soul cannot be destroyed by injustice, it means that it cannot be destroyed at all. Now this is hardly a logical thesis, because the soul of the just people is not destroyed, the soul of the unjust people is not destroyed. So whatever is not destroyed does not mean that it's not going to be it's immortal. ठीक है? This is like obvious सी बात एक सामने की लग रही है कि अगर इस चीज़ से destroy नहीं हुआ तो फिर किसी चीज़ से भी destroy नहीं होगा. So this is what Socrates believed, that because of this particular reason, that there is no particular evil that can destroy the soul is immortal. This is something that he believes, this is something that I believe, this is something that you might believe, but we do not know it. There's a difference between belief and there's a difference between belief and knowledge. Okay? This is not a fact that we know, this is something that we believe in. All right? So the next thing they moved on was, why do we need to take care of the immortality of soul? We need to take care of the immortality of soul or of the soul because there's a system of reward and punishment where the soul has to be rewarded for something that good that he has or he or she has done in the real life or in the life of this earth, and they'll be punished for something that they have done, something unjust for that matter that they have done in this life. ठीक है? तो उसके लिए फिर क्या इसने आपको दी थी theory और myth सुनाई थी, एक story सुनाई थी, myth of Ur. ठीक है? Ur was a soldier and he died in a battle and his body was brought back home, and while he was lying on a bed or a charpai for being buried, he woke up. And when he woke up, he told the story of what happened to him after he died. So he told the story that he went to a place where there were 4 chasms, 2 in the earth and 2 in the heavens. आसमानों और ज़मीन में 4 बड़े-बड़े गड्ढे थे, बड़े-बड़े दरवाजे से थे, ठीक है? And between the chasms there were 2 judges sitting. And what were the judges doing? They were handing out judgments. So this person, he kept on sitting there and he saw that there were people who were coming towards those judges, and these judges, they were handing out punishment or reward. Those who were rewarded, they went up towards the right side chasm in the heavens, and those who were punished went to the right side chasm in the earth. अच्छा, और दूसरी साइड पे जो चैज़म से लेफ्ट साइड से कुछ लोग हेवन से वापस आ रहे थे और कुछ लोग अर्थ वाले चैज़म से वापस आ रहे थे. एंड द पीपल हु वर कमिंग बैक फ्रॉम द हेवन वाले चैज़म, दे वर वेरी फ्रेश, दे लुक्ड वेरी नाइस, वेरी टाइडी, वेल रेस्टेड, हैप्पी. एंड पीपल कमिंग आउट ऑफ द चैज़म फ्रॉम द ग्राउंड, दे वर लुकिंग वेरी डिशेवल्ड, दे वर ट्रेवल worn, they were tired, fatigued. And so this was the condition. So he asked the people sitting with him, the souls that were sitting with him, they told him that these are the people who are coming back from the hell or from the place where they have been subjected to be punished because they have been unjust during their lifetime. And there were these people, these souls, they told earth that there are certain people who are condemned to an eternity under the earth in the hell because they've been tyrant or they've been unjust throughout their life. From there, the souls, both good and bad, were taken to the 4 fates. And the 3 fates. The 3 fates then said that they had to choose another life. The souls, they chose another life for themselves, and they were made to drink from the fountain of river of forgetfulness. And what happened? That there was an earthquake and they came back to life. अब यहाँ पे कुछ ऐसे souls थे जिन्होंने ज़िंदगी के लिए, नई ज़िंदगी के लिए अच्छी choice नहीं की. There was a person who chose to be a tyrant in the next life. And what happened to him? That he should have known that a tyrant would be punished for eternity, but he chose it. So इस पॉइंट से, मिथ ऑफ अर्थ से, प्लेटो या सोक्रेटिस ये प्रूव करने की कोशिश कर रहा था कि द चॉइस ऑफ गुड एंड बैड इज बिटवीन इज ह्यूमन बीइंग्स ओनली. देयर इज नथिंग प्री डेस्टिन्ड. यू आर नॉट बोर्न टू बी बैड एंड यू आर नॉट बोर्न टू बी गुड. देयर इज नो तकदीर एंड तदबीर वाली जो हमारी बहस है ना, उसमें ये पड़ जाता है कि इट इज़ योर चॉइस टू डू व्हाट यू हैव टू डू. सो अ पर्सन हु न्यू that life was going to be bad for him in afterlife, he still chose to be a tyrant. Here Plato says that this is a decision which is based on lack of knowledge, which is based on the unreflective life. This is why it is important to think, this is why it is important to follow reason, and this is why it is important to know the absolute truth or to have absolute knowledge, because this will help you, absolute truth and absolute knowledge will help you to make the exact choice or the best choice you can make in the life, which is going to affect the lives to come, because they believed in reincarnation. इसमें तो at least Socrates ने और Plato ने उसको reinforce कर दिया कि they do believe in a life of reincarnation, that is life आफ्टर डेथ. एक दफ़ा फौत हो जाते हैं, आपका सोल ऊपर जा रहा है, फिर आपको चॉइस मिल रही है कि आप एक और लाइफ फॉर्म चूज करें. सम चूज टू बी एनिमल, सम चूज टू बी अनदर थिंग, सम चूज टू बी कॉमन सिटीजन. अ किंग may become a common citizen, a common citizen may become a king or something like that. So this is all in all Plato's theory of आर्ट. ठीक है, रिपब्लिक जो उसकी बुक थी उसके अंदर उसने ये थेरी दी थी. ठीक है, ही बिलीव्स के ये जो आर्ट है ना, ये आपको एक्साइट करती है और आपके सोल को डिस्ट्रैक्ट करती है. तो इस सारी चीज़ के बाद फिर हम आते हैं नेक्स्ट पर्सन पे, नेक्स्ट फिलोसोफर पे, हु इज़ इक्वली इम्पोर्टेंट बट हु वाज अ स्टूडेंट ऑफ सॉक्रेटिस एंड प्लेटो. उसके एकेडमी में पढ़ता रहा था. हिज नेम वाज एरिस्टोटल. एरिस्टोटल को हम उर्दू में अरस्तू कहते हैं. ठीक है, लेट्स डिस्कस Aristotle की early life. So he wrote poetics as a response to art. Poetics generally tragedy के बारे में है. इसमें genres discuss हुई हैं. आगे आगे हम जितना criticism पढ़ेंगे, it would be based on genres, different genres of literature would be discussed. कि poetry कैसी best poetry होगी, art कैसी best art है, painting किस तरह की सबसे अच्छी painting होगी. इसी तरह tragedy को उसने Aristotle ने इसमें poetics में discuss किया है. अब Aristotle was a student in Plato's academy. He was there in 17 years old when he went there, and he left after Plato's death. That was like he stayed there for almost 20 years, and for the next 12 years of his life, what did he do? He served as a tutor to Alexander the Great. ठीक है, बहुत से आपने डायलॉग सुने होंगे. अरस्तु ने अपने शागिर्द सिकंदर से ये कहा और सिकंदर ने अरस्तु से ये कहा वगैरह वगैरह. They're very famous folklores about these things as well. So he spent the next 12 years of his life as a tutor to Alexander, and he also did some scientific research. Because अगर आपको याद हो तो there is a concept of how life is formed. उसके बारे में सबसे जो basic scientific experiment है, it was done by Aristotle when he said that he put some pieces of meat in a jar, and that pieces of meat were kept in that particular glass jar for a longer period of time. There was light available, and there was some wind available as well. हवा भी थोड़ी सी थी, ऑक्सीजन भी थी, और उस गोश्त के टुकड़े में there were maggots formed, छोटे छोटे कीड़े फॉर्म हो गए थे. ठीक है, तो अरिस्टोटल ने प्रूव किया था कि दिस इज हाउ लाइफ इज फॉर्म. दो वी माइट फाइंड हिज फाइंडिंग्स फॉल्टी एट प्रेजेंट, बट दिस जस्ट आइडिया दैट ही वाज meddling into the scientific affairs and in the sciences and the physics and the biology and all these things just tell you कि he has this inclination, and he's going to use this inclination in order to prove tragedy to be as an exact science. So we'll see it when we study it in detail, the poetics, that he's going to try and prove and try to give certain rules as we do in sciences, कि ये चीज़ है, इस चीज़ को ये 5 या 6 या 7 या 8 rules हैं, ये govern करते हैं. ठीक है, so this is how Aristotle की interest in science is going to affect his book Poetics and his dealing of the different subjects of arts. अच्छा जी, तो Aristotle when he left Alexander यानी सिकंदर, he went back to Athens, and he went back to Athens in 335 BC. BC is, I have already told you, before Christ. Okay, before Christ was born. So he went back to Athens, and he, like his teacher, formed an academy. And what was the purpose of academy? Of course, teaching. And where did he form the academy? He formed that academy on the steps of the Lyceum. Lyceum is a very important word. We have seen schools, cropping up everywhere in Pakistan, especially the American Lyceum, the British Lyceum. इस तरह के बहुत से नाम है. Lyceum is basically the gardens that were there in Athens, ठीक है? And the gardens in certain steps. तो Aristotle ने अपनी academy वहाँ से start की थी. He used to sit on those steps, और उसके students भी उसके साथ वहीं बैठते थे. This was the start of the academy in the open air, where there was people moving around. The gardens were beautiful. But अच्छा एटमॉस्फेयर क्रिएट करके उसने ये एकेडमी स्टार्ट की थी. ठीक है, ही continued there until he was forced to leave in 323 BC. So as happens everywhere, in every period of time, in every country of the world, people who are successful, or people who tend to give philosophies, tend to give new ideas, talk of things that are against the norm, they're never liked by authorities. So this happened to Aristotle as well. He was forced to leave the place. He was forced to tell them to he was forced by the authority to leave the city, and he had to cut off all kind of association he had with the Lyceum. They didn't close it off, but he was forced to go from that place. After a year, that is in 322 BC, he was dead due to natural causes. It was not that he was killed or anything, like Aristotle, usko bichare ko, Socrates, he was not forced to drink a cup of poison. So he died, and the Lyceum, it remained open in 525 Christ, yeah. And when it was closed by Emperor Justinian of Rome. So this is his life in a nutshell, that he was a teacher, he was a student of Plato, he was one of the most successful and the most well-known students of Plato. He became the tutor of Alexander the Great. Of course, he must have influenced him in some way so that Alexander became such a great emperor. He went out of Rome and conquered almost the entire world. And then he came back and formed his own academy in the Lyceum, and this academy continued for almost 200 to 300 years, and it ended in almost 200 years, 300 years later. Acha. And now why is he famous? Because in those times, nothing much survived from those times. Little things are there, of course. Classics हैं तो वो हैं, exist कर रहे हैं, जैसे Oedipus Rex अभी तक exist कर रहे हैं. The certain forms of poetry, जैसे Homer exist करता है अभी तक. These things, they do exist, but this was nothing published during that period of time, okay? Because there was no printing houses in that time. So there was nothing published that is written by Aristotle. Whatever we have are very, incomplete notes. Because he used to give lectures, na? So the lectures कि जो notes वो बनाता था, they are only available to us, and they are available in complete form में, and they do not actually make sense because they are haphazard, and he has jotted down points for a lecture. They are not, in a proper sequence written in the form of a book. It's not like that. And he has written poetics, but poetics का बहुत यानी कि complete हिस्सा हमारे पास नहीं है. We have just a small portion of poetics, with 26 chapters that are there for us to read, and that's also, of course, in the ancient language. So the poetics do not survive as a whole. It's supposed to be a big book, and of course there is a treatise to comedy that he has written as well. Poetics is about the classical tragedy, the Greek tragedy, but he has also written something about the comedy, but we do not have it. Does not exist anymore. It has been lost to time. So the general attitude of the time was, to follow him and to, I don't know whether he was very much popular during that period of time, but his work was not saved much. So of all the things that is written, we have poetics, we have a few theories as well and a few books as well. But as it is with the old works, we're not sure whether they're his or not. But for poetics, somehow it has been established that poetics is written by Aristotle, and it's considered to be, the basis of whenever you start studying criticism, आप Aristotle से इसीलिए start करते हैं प्लेटो के बाद, क्योंकि वो आपको एक genre पूरा explain करता है. और जब भी आप, when you start your master's degree program in English, you always start with Greek tragedy, and when you start with Greek tragedy, you always given the basics that have been given by the rules that have been given by Aristotle. अच्छा, अब पोइटिक्स का फोकस क्या था? पोइटिक्स का फोकस है ट्रेजेडी. अब ट्रेजेडी कौन सी? ऑफ कोर्स ग्रीक ट्रेजेडी. सो Aristotle is going to write about whatever was written by the Greek masters at that time. Tragedies were very important in Athens at that time. It was the entertainment in those days. TV तो होते नहीं थे, ठीक है? No internet. There was no stage drama for that matter. जिसे हम देखते हैं. There's no, cable. There's no dish. There's nothing like that. There's no DVDs and anything. So whatever was for entertainment was on the stage in the form of a play written by the great names of that time. So generally ये जो plays होते थे, ये tragedies थे, they were performed in religious festivals, the festivals that occurred at the changing of the season. So the Greek tragedies are especially known, the cycle of tragedies जो थी, they were specially performed in a festival of Dionysus. Dionysus is a god of excess and wine, and during his festival these tragedies were performed, and they're of immense importance, these festivals, because इन फेस्टिवल्स में इन ट्रेजेडीज को recognition मिलती थी, and इन्हीं फेस्टिवल्स पे इनके राइटर्स they become extremely famous and extremely recognized all over Rome, not in Athens only. The poetics does not only discuss tragedy, but it is also going to discuss epic poetry. Why epic poetry? Because Aristotle doesn't think कि epic poetry tragedy में कोई बहुत ज़्यादा फ़र्क है. There is a difference, of course, कि जो epic होता है ज़्यादा fantastic होता है, ज़्यादा long होता है, it's a little more dramatic. But because also because Homer was a great poet of that time, a little before Aristotle, and he was, considered like we consider Iqbal for that matter, we consider Faiz. इससे हमारे लिए इकबाल और फैज़ इतने important हैं, इससे इनके लिए होमर बहुत important है. होमर was not a philosopher, he told stories. Epic stories की definition अगर आपको याद हो कि epic poetry जो होती थी उसमें it was a hero जो कि बहुत supernatural तो नहीं कहना चाहिए, super human किस्म का character होता था, and used to go on these adventures, and the entire epic was about the stories of those adventures. ठीक है. So Homer wrote Iliad and he wrote Odysseus, and they were very famous in Greece at that time, and people used to talk about him, they quote him, and it was, you know, considered one of the earliest classical literatures of the world. जो है Aristotle है, he's going to try and not going to try, of course, who am I to say that he's going to try? He tries and he does it, that he's going to discuss epic poetry as well. He's not very fond of Homer, you know, neither was Plato for that matter. So ये जो इसकी tragedies थी Homer की, they were very important. Why were they so important? Because इसकी जो stories थी ना, ये जो इसके characters थे जो इसने अपनी poetry में introduce कराए थे, these characters were taken up by many writers for the you know, for the subject, as a subject matter of their tragedies, and for, you know, writing more tragedies or writing more epic poetry. Even today, Iliad or Odysseus जो है, this is very, you know, if you say that you're well versed in literature, it always starts with Homer. And if you are like giving the example, if you're giving this exam, the GRE literature का exam जो होता है, you're going to need to know Homer for that matter. Literature starts with Homer. Of course, there is Dante as well, लेकिन Dante ज़रा later stages पे आता है. Dante की जो थी Inferno, उसमें he goes and he meets Homer for that matter. So Homer is very important. अच्छा, अब जो पोइटिक्स लिखी इसका क्या फ़ायदा होगा, हमें क्या फ़ायदा ये पोइटिक्स पढ़ने का? Why should we study it? Because it is greatly influential. Why is it influential? क्योंकि एरिस्टोटल ने इसमें आपको आइडियाज़ दिए ना कि ट्रेजेडी होनी कैसी चाहिए. So when he gives you the idea about what tragedy is, how it should be written, what important constituents it have, it gives you laws, right? So this was taken very much seriously by the rest of the world. And what did they do? They followed it to the heart. I mean, the laws that he gave were considered as rules, and they were followed well into the Renaissance. Balki 19th century tak people followed it. People thought that whatever he has written is, you know, the final word in tragedy, and it should be followed like he has written it. Because classics ki importance us waqt itni zyada thi, people considered them to, you know, because it was their subject matter. This is what they wrote. So what they wrote, they know about it. So what they know should be followed. Aristotle's suggestions were turned into strict laws, which he might not have anticipated. Because Aristotle, you know, he was all for the flourishing of art. And art is not something that is, you know, strictly governed by rules and regulations. And they were held as models for writing tragedies well into the 19th century. Poetry is imitation. He's going to say the same thing. And he's going to say कि poetry भी imitation है. Imitation किस चीज़ की है? Life की. Life around you. It's going to be written, it should be written in such a way that it imitates everything that goes around you. Even if the writer has written something that is not real, but it should be written in such a way that the reader who's reading it should consider it real. I mean कि वो इतना out of this world नहीं होना चाहिए कि जब उसको पढ़े तो उसको यकीन ही ना आ सके. It should be mimetic. Mimetic is the word. Its rough translation ये है कि it should be an imitation. So we as creatures, we love imitation. Our love, you know, our love for imitation is evident in everything. I mean, we create things, we like to be beautiful, और हम imitate करेंगे उस बंदे को जिसका हमने देखा है, जो हमारे ख्याल में खूबसूरत होगा, ठीक है ना, हम उसको कॉपी करने की कोशिश करेंगे. या जैसे हम देखते हैं कि अब जो तस्वीरें बनाई जाती हैं, जो ग्रेटेस्ट आर्टिस्ट्स कंसिडर किया जाते हैं, उनकी तस्वीरें जो होती हैं वो वी अप्रिशिएट देम. व्हाई? बिकॉज दे आर द ग्रेटेस्ट ऑफ इमिटेशंस. ठीक है, किसी तस्वीर किसी चीज़ को आप इमिटेट करते हैं, यानी कि जैसे अब आप इसकी एग्जांपल लें कि आईफोन का जो कॉपी आती है, iPhone की कॉपी, चाइनीज़ कॉपी आती है, it's a great imitation and we're very happy with it. It's not iPhone, but the common public would be extremely happy कि iPhone की imitation आ गई है. We as creatures thrive on it. ठीक है. People who have taste, we're not talking about them. People who have intellect, we're not talking about them. People who have logic, we're not talking about them. We're talking about the common people. Aristotle, Plato, Socrates का focus common लोग थे. Common लोग जिनकी sensibilities इतनी ज़्यादा develop नहीं होती, जिनकी logic, जिनकी reason बहुत ज़्यादा develop नहीं होती, easily influence हो जाती हैं. And they believe कि ऐसे लोगों के लिए imitation जो है ना ये इसका प्लेटो का पॉइंट ही ये था कि ऐसे लोगों के लिए इमिटेशन जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा डेंजरस है. So Plato believed that imitation is dangerous for these people. So, but Aristotle say that imitation is an important part of life, and as creatures we focus on imitation. We want imitation, and we like things that are imitated. So poetry, according to Aristotle, would be something that would be imitated from life, and it would be appreciated because it is imitated well. Okay, tragedy. अब tragedy क्या होगी जी? Tragedy is a dramatic form of poetry basically. It's written in the dramatic form. It is going to make you sit up and, you know, think about things. It's going to be a spectacular thing. It's going to be a spectacular fest. It's going to make you turn into each other, look at each other in awe. You'll be thunderstruck. Something, you know, dramatic happens. Right? This is what you call drama, is like someone being very emotional. You call it ye to drama kare. So when you say that, it's because you want that person to, you think that the person is being, you know, over emotional. This is the purpose of tragedy, to make you over emotional, to make you think about the emotions that you do not think about. This is the focus of tragedy. This is why Aristotle believes that tragedy is important, because it's going to make you feel things that you avoid feeling in the general senses. Okay? It deals with agents who are better than ourselves. Agents are characters, basically the heroes. Generally classical tragedy का focus है. If you have gone through classical drama, you'll find out that classical tragedy के heroes, your main characters, the protagonists, they're always from the higher strata of the society. They're either kings or the princes or the noblemen. They you know, the high class, the royalty, the nobility. They're not going to be common people like me and like you. They're going to be, you know, top class, top notch people of the society. उनकी बारे में है. So the agents of a drama would always be, of a tragedy would be always be better than we are. And when they're better than you are, you will identify them. उनका जो downfall है, it makes more of an impact on you. कि such grand thing falls down, and then आपको ज़्यादा एहसास होता है कि वाह यार, अल्लाह ने क्या चीज़ बनाई थी, कितना बड़ा आदमी था, देखो कैसे करके अंदर ही अंदर एक अजीब सी, एक आप उसको खुशी कहें, रिलीज कहें, you feel something inside. That feeling is the purpose of the tragedy. It's going to make you feel something inside. It could be called, you know, release, it could be called catharsis, it could be called purgation, you call it purification. That downfall of a character that was far, far better than you, you know, socially, financially, emotionally, character-wise, whatever. His downfall or her downfall is going to make you feel good about yourself. It affects a catharsis it arouses emotion of pity and fear. ठीक है? आपको तरस आ रहा है. ठीक है? Hamlet पागल हो गया बेचारा. He's asking himself to be or not to be. That is the question. You feel pity for him. He's the king. He's supposed to be the king of Denmark, and now look at him. He's, you know, moving around. Uski jo beloved thi, she dies, and his father is, you know, killed by his father's brother. His mother marries the brother. You feel pity for him, and then you write, and there is a fear in your heart as well. ये तो मेरे साथ भी हो सकता है. If that great man, the son of a king, it could happen to him, it could happen to me as well. So pity and fear, both of these feelings which you generally avoid. And it affects a catharsis of these emotions. Focus that there is a K in the catharsis. This catharsis is the Greek catharsis. जो catharsis हम आजकल लिखते हैं ना, that is with a C. So catharsis of pity and fear. How do you do that? Either you scream out loud जब यकदम कुछ होता है stage पे, you cry because of something bad that has happened to the hero or the protagonist or the heroine, whatever. Okay? So he divides the tragedy into 6 parts, the 6 important constituents of tragedy. These 6 things should be present in a tragedy in order for that tragedy to be, you know, following the exact rules that Aristotle has given for Greek tragedy. So first thing is mythos, the second thing is character, the third thing is thought, diction, melody, and spectacle. we'll discuss these things one by one when we discuss the chapters in detail, because each and every chapter has a specific purpose. But I'll just give you a definition of these things. Mythos is generally, अगर आप इसको roughly translate करते हैं, it's the plot, ठीक है? Character, of course, the characters of the play, जो protagonist भी हो सकता है, antagonist भी हो सकता है, that is the hero and the villain, दोनों हो सकते हैं इसमें. Thought क्या है कि किस लिए ये लिखा गया, क्या is it provoking any kind of thought, or was it written with some thought in mind? Diction, language कैसे इस्तेमाल की गई है उसके अंदर, पोइट्री किस तरह की हुई है. मेलोडी, इज द पोइट्री accompanied by some sort of music, lyrical है, और spectacle. There should be a great spectacle. I mean, it should be enjoyable. मूवीज आपको क्यों मजा आता है? स्टीवन स्पीलबर्ग की मूवीज जो थी, ये जुरासिक पार्क थी, ये इंडियाना जोन्स थी, ये ट्रांसफॉर्मर्स थी, आपको क्यों पसंद आती है? बिकॉज इट्स अ ग्रेट स्पेक्टिकल. इट्स आउट ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड, आउट ऑफ द बॉडी एक्सपीरियंस आपको होता है कि ठीक ग्रैंड चीज आपके सामने स्टेज पे हो रही होती है. अब बिकॉज ऑफ द फीलिंग्स, ऑफ कोर्स, जो फील भी आप कर रहे होते हैं, दैट इज एडिंग टूवर्ड्स दिस. वो आपको स्पेक्टेकुलर सी एक फीलिंग होती है, एक स्पेक्टिकल आपके सामने, एक सीन क्रिएट होता है, एक दुनिया आपके सामने क्रिएट की जाती है. एंड दैट spectacle, it of course aids all the things that we've already mentioned above. तो पहली चीज जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट प्लेटो के ख्याल में है towards पहली चीज जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है एरिस्टोटल के ख्याल में, it's unity of plot. यूनिटी ऑफ प्लॉट का क्या मतलब है कि इज दैट एक्ट 1 एक्ट 2 एक्ट 3 जो है प्ले के, शुड दे बी इन प्रॉपर सीक्वेंस? क्लासिकल टाइम द एक्ट्स होते ही नहीं थे, इट वाज वन बिग प्ले. सो इट सेज दैट इट शुड हैव अ प्रॉपर बिगिनिंग, अ प्रॉपर मिडल, एंड इट शुड हैव अ प्रॉपर एंड. And it should move from beginning towards end. Everything that is happening in the drama should be moving in one direction. It should be unified. अब ये जो है ना, a plot should be moving from beginning to end according to a highly organized sequence of events. Everything happening in the drama should make sense. It should not be haphazard. एक डिटेल पहले बता दी और फिर पता चला कि ओहो ये तो अभी नहीं बतानी थी, ये तो बाद में आनी चाहिए थी. कोई रेवलेशन पहले कर दी जो रेवलेशन होनी ही नहीं चाहिए थी. सीक्रेट पहले आउट हो गया जो कि नहीं होना चाहिए था. The sequence of events should be so that the action moves from beginning to end. It should aid the action. The plot should aid the action should aid the plot. Beginning should not follow earlier events. There's no need to give a context here. There's no need to tell them of whatever happened to Oedipus before he was born, or what happened to Oedipus's father or his grandfather. There's no need to give that detail. There's no need to give the detail कि Hamlet की माँ जो थी वो कौन से मुल्क की princess थी, and how did she get to marry Hamlet's father. There's no need to give that. There is no need to. You might, but there's no need to. And the end should not be loose. Loose ends नहीं छोड़ने, loose ties नहीं छोड़ने, tie it up properly. सीक्वल्स के कॉन्सेप्ट जरा थोड़ा सा कम थे, ठीक है? जो अब होता है ना कि दे राइट अ बुक, ट्वाइलाइट लिखी तो उसका एंड हैंगिंग छोड़ दिया, सो दैट they can write a next book, and there is a sequel for that book as well, and it goes on and on and on. It happens in movies as well, that they give one movie, उसका कई दफा ऐसा होता है कि इस तरह का एंड देते हैं so that there is a sequel to it. He does not believe in it. He believes that something should start from the beginning and it should come to a proper end. There is to be no something given before the beginning. इससे पहले का बताने की जरूरत नहीं है. It should be a clean cut beginning and it should be a clean cut end as well. जहाँ से चीज शुरू हो रही है फिर वो एक एंड तक जाए और वहाँ पे खत्म हो जाए. उससे पहले क्या था और उसके बाद क्या होना है. It should not be of concern. It should be a complete beginning and a complete end. ठीक है? So the plot can be enhanced by a use of peripecia and anagnorisis. Peripecia and anagnorisis are two terms which we'll discuss while we're discussing the terms used by Aristotle while he's describing tragedy. अच्छा, इसमें एक चीज और है कि जो प्लॉट होगा, जो प्रोटैगनिस्ट होगा, जो कैरेक्टर होगा, he is going to move from, there's going to be a downfall, ठीक है? There's going to be a trajectory. He is going to move standing here and he will move from here. He will rise. That is trajectory होता है ना जो यूं करके आता है एक मोशन. इस trajectory में क्या होगा कि he is going to start, he is going to reach the apex and then is going to have a downfall. ठीक है? So there is a trajectory. The hero moves from happiness to misery. तो यही चीज जो होगी ये आपके अंदर पिटी और फेयर की इमोशंस को राइज करेगी. सो दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट बिकॉज दिस गोइंग टू बी हैप्पीनेस. दे गोइंग टू शो इट. रेस्ट अश्योर कि दे गोइंग टू शो अ स्टेट ऑफ इवेंट दैट इज परफेक्ट, pristine, I mean something to envy someone at, and that something envious situation is going to crumble in front of us, and he's going to or she is going to fall into miseries. and we are going to be fearful for that. Because of that, these two situations, happiness and misery, से फिर हमारे दिल में pity और fear arise होगा, and then we are going to have our catharsis. अच्छा, the misery should be due to hamasha. अब hamasha क्या चीज़ है? Hamasha is the जिसकी translation है exact, वो तो tragic flaw है. It's called an error. The error is on the part of the protagonist. Hero का character है, उसका tragic flaw है. अब ये उसकी गलती है कोई एक छोटी सी बेचारे की. Because of that single error that he makes, he is going to have a downfall. It's not a very fatal error. It's not a moral weakness for that matter. In some cases it is, but it's not necessarily a moral weakness. Okay? It could be something that he's overlooked. It could be something that he has forgotten, something that he has done, something that he has not done, something that he knew or something he didn't knew, something that he did knowingly or something that he did unknowingly. बेचारे का कसूर होना ज़रूरी नहीं है, और ज़रूरी नहीं है कि बहुत ही कोई फेटल और बहुत ही गलत किस्म की उसने हरकत की हो, but that one thing that he does or does not do is going to cause his downfall. That particular thing is known as hamasha. अच्छा, फिर इस ट्रेजेडी को डिफाइन करने के बाद एरिस्टोटल जो है पोइटिक्स में मूव करता है एपिक पोइट्री की तरफ, ठीक है, and he believes that epic poetry is almost similar to tragedy, classical tragedy, Greek tragedy, but it is grander, it is longer, it is more fantastic, it's greater and has greater scope of action. Why? Because you know poetry, it's about a single. I've already told you that epic poetry, जैसे कि होमर ने लिखी थी, जो कि इनका एग्जाम्पल था, जो इनका अवेलेबल डाटा था, उसमें ये था कि जो होमर ने लिखी थी, it was sung one single character, and that single character, यानी कि जो protagonist था, of course, उसकी story थी, उसके adventures की story थी. He would go out, he'd fight monsters, he would fall into perils, he'll fall into love, and the entire poetry is going to be out. So the scope is great. It's the entire world. It's saving of the world generally. What happens in epics, कि हीरो को छोटा मोटा काम नहीं करता, वो पूरी दुनिया को बचा लेता है, या वो पूरी किंगडम को बचा लेगा, ठीक है. जैसे होते हैं ना कुछ मूवीज हम देखते हैं जिनमें द हीरो, लाइक द मूवी दैट वी सॉ अ फ्यू डेज अगो, Batman Rises. So he saves the entire world from not the entire world, sorry, Gotham City from a nuclear explosion and killed himself. So इनके जो epic poetry के heroes होते थे ना, वो इस तरह के होते थे, grand, big, superhuman kind of things, doing things, you know, at a grander level. So इसमें side of course poetry भी होती थी, lyrical भी होती थी, वो rhythm भी होता था. So it was more enjoyable as far as tragedy goes. But it's a little, you know, similar to the tragedy. Tragedy, as far as Aristotle is considered, or what he thinks is that it's greater than epic poetry. Why? Because इसमें और बहुत से factors involved हो जाते हैं. Epic poetry थोड़ी confined है, लेकिन tragedy में हम बहुत से elements और भी add कर देते हैं. So कुछ important terms I told you, we're going to discuss them. And the important terms that we're going to discuss here are, number one, mimesis. Mimesis we have already discussed. अगर आपको याद हो कि we discussed as a literary theory which is known as mimetic theory. ठीक है, the way life is depicted in literature. ठीक है ना, how well is it depicted? So the mimesis is also that kind. If you keep that in mind, so you'll understand what mimesis is. Mimesis की rough जो translation है, that is imitation, but it is rough. ठीक है. It is the act of creating in someone's mind an idea or ideas that the person will associate with past experience. देखें, आपने एक ऐसा आइडिया क्रिएट करना है, एक ऐसा आइडिया देना है, एक ऐसी बात करनी है जिसके साथ आपके रीडर्स एसोसिएट कर सकें. What does this mean? Do not talk of things that are out of this world. Do not talk of philosophies they do not understand. जब आप कोई philosophy देते हैं, when these philosophers they used to give a philosophy, even if the philosophy was written, whatever he wrote was written in the form of poetry, it would not be considered poetry. Language poetical है, पर उसको poetry नहीं consider करेंगे. Why? Because poetry is essentially, as far as Aristotle is concerned, is essentially mimetic. It has to imitate something that exists in this world, something the readers can relate with. उनको पता है कि there is a hero and he's going to go out. They could believe it because of the language, because of the way it was written. जो फिलोसोफर्स लिखेंगे उस पे ये बिलीव नहीं करेंगे, फिलोसोफर्स जो भी लिखेंगे वो एक और चीज़, वो एक अलग जॉनरा बन जाएगा. बट वट एवर द पोइट इज गोइंग टू राइट, इट्स गोइंग टू बेस्ड ऑन इमिटेशन एंड इट इज will be written in such a way that it would be believable for the reader. It would make them associated with something that happened in their life, or an idea that was in their mind, or a thought or a memory, anything. But mimesis would be something that would create an idea in a reader's mind which would make them associate with something in their real life, in the real world. Okay? It's an act of telling stories in the real world. How do you tell stories? The stories should be placed in the real world. They should be based on what is happening in the world around us. If it's not placed in the world around us, it's not going to be very, people can't identify with it. If they can't identify with it, they won't believe it and they won't, cling to it. Somehow, this is changed a little bit. If you consider Harry Potter, right? So Harry Potter is sort of out of this world. But even then, you believe it. Why? Because it's been written in such a form. अब जब when he talks of poetry, doesn't mean कि ये वही वाली poetry है कि शेर लिखे हुए दो दो करके गजल बनाई हुई है, ठीक है? It's basically art. Consider it an art form. So then we believe in Harry Potter. Why? Because there is something. J.K. Rowling has created an idea in our minds, and we can relate to it. ठीक है? किसी न किसी लेवल पे कभी ना कभी हमने सोचा होगा मैजिक के बारे में. We might have thought of a world that exists that we do not know of. ठीक है? So we identify with them. So this would tell you stories of a world that could exist, that may exist, and it should be like the real world. आप किसी और दुनिया की बातें करते हैं तो वो इतना आइडेंटिफाइबल नहीं होता, वो मिमेटिक भी नहीं है. That's not mimesis. अच्छा. The event of the story may not have taken place, but the telling of the story will help a listener to imagine these events taking place in the real world. This is what I was saying just now, that we believe in Harry Potter. Why? Because it has been written so. It has been written in such a way that we tend to believe in it. Right? We believe in the Lord of the Rings, we believe in Alice in the Wonderland. We believe in all these novels. Why? Because they've been written in such a way that somehow we are left with no option but to believe them. So this is what happens here. Mimesis is that thing which is based on imitation. The imitation would be of something, it would create an idea in your mind which you can associate with. It would tell you a story of this world, and if the events of the world, events of the story do not exist in the real world, they will be written in such a way that you'll believe them. Even if they don't exist, you'll believe कि हाँ हो सकता है ऐसा होता हो सकता मैंने नहीं देखा पर हो सकता है ऐसा होता हो सकता है ऐसा हो जाए कभी, ठीक है? So this is mimesis. I'll repeat it once, that mimesis is something that exists, that imitates, and it would create an idea in your mind, and that idea would help you think about things that have happened in your life. It would tell you a story which will exist in the real world. It might tell you of a story which does not exist in the real world, but you will believe it because it has been written in such a way that it would make you believe it. दूसरी चीज़ आ जाती है हमाशा. I've already discussed it with you कि hamasha is the tragic flaw, the error that has been committed by the protagonist, the main character of a Greek tragedy. It's an error on part of the hero, जिसको आप protagonist भी कहते हैं. Protagonist का word हम इसलिए use करते हैं क्योंकि protagonist जो होता है वो central character होता है, ठीक है, जिसका downfall आप discuss करें. तो वो central character female भी हो सकती है. तो hero की term इसलिए नहीं use करी मैं, इसलिए मैं उसको protagonist कह रही हूँ, ठीक है. डाउनफॉल जो होगी, जो उसकी ट्रेजेक्टाइल मूवमेंट है, जो उसकी प्रोजेक्टाइल बनेगी, इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ दैट hamasha, that tragic flaw. And A.C. Bradley, who has written so much about Shakespeare, he believes कि ये जो tragic flaw होता है ना, this is the best thing that is about the hero. This is the best thing, this is the most passionate thing that the hero's character, the protagonist characters have. And that passionate thing causes his downfall. So the hamasha, the tragic flaw, is something that is going to cause the downfall of the hero, because he knows it or he does not know it, whether he does it intentionally or does it unintentionally. Is it something that he is doing knowingly or unknowingly? Is it something that he's doing or is it something that he's not doing? ठीक है, ये भी तो हो सकता है ना कि कुछ नहीं कर रहा जो कि उसको करना चाहिए था, और वो कुछ ना करने की वजह से he has this downfall. ठीक है, Macbeth को चाहिए था, ambition उसका था hamasha ना, because he was ambitious so he killed the king. the king was a guest in his castle, and he killed the king because his wife was, you know, constantly edging him on and telling him to go ahead and kill the king so that he can become the king. So when he killed the king, this ambition and this lack of this ambition is his hamasha. We feel sorry for him. It's not bad to feel ambitious, but what he did in this fit of ambition is something that's causing his downfall here. It is not supposed to be as big a mistake as Macbeth did, that he killed the king. It could be something small. It could be jealousy. It could be indecisiveness and part of it could be pride. It could be, you know, as Oedipus did, it was complete fate. He didn't know what he was doing, who he was marrying. So this is the tragic flaw, the basic mistake that the hero makes, which causes his downfall. And as a result of that downfall, there is a you know, process of you know, purgation that takes place in the reader or in the viewer. The next term that we're going to discuss is anagnosis. Anagnosis is the recognition or the discovery. Suddenly the character discovers something. अच्छा, पुराने plays में तो ना जो classical drama है, this discovery is generally like a long lost friend, a long lost relative. You suddenly discover, oh, ये तो मेरा भाई था जो उस मेले में मुझसे बिछड़ गया था, ठीक है ना? This is the kind of things Indian movies में भी हम देखते रहे हैं, जो कि यकदम वो भाई मिल जाते हैं और you know, they live happily ever after or something for that matter. This is anagnosis. This is the point where something is discovered, something is revealed, something that has been hidden for a long period of time, and the writer and the reader the character suddenly realizes or discovers it, okay? Suddenly recognize something. Sometimes it is also about your personality, okay? Just say Oedipus suddenly realizes what happened to him was that he married his mother. So this is something that he realized. This was a discovery that he made about himself. Okay? It was not about a lost long friend, but it was about himself. So generally anagnosis का जो होता है ना process, ये climax पे होता है. ये जो projectile मैंने आपको बताई ना जो यूं जाती है, तो ये जो point आता है ना इस पे, ये है climax का point. And at this point this thing starts. Climax पे पहुंची, there is a process of discovery, or there is a revelation, or there is a recognition, and as a result of this revelation, recognition or discovery, climax से anti-climax का downfall start हो जाती है. Generally this process occurs when the play is at the climax, and because of that climax things are going to downfall now. Mythos, इसकी बहुत ही rough translation is the plot, ठीक है, कि जो plot है ना ड्रामे का, that is mythos, but this is not exactly what mythos is, ठीक है. Mythos, अगर आप इसको as a plot लेते हैं तो you're going to apply it on drama only, but mythos is something that can be applied to all genres of art, ठीक है. Different kinds of, it could be painting, it could be dancing, it could be poetry, anything. It could be sculpting for that matter. It is something that brings together all the elements. Whatever the drama is about is going to be revealed by the mythos. It is going to bring together the elements, ठीक है. सारी चीज़ों को इकट्ठा करेगा और आपके सामने present कर देगा. That something is mythos. This is what the entire play or the drama or the piece of art or the painting or the sculpture would be about. It's the overall message of the play. It's all the elements of tragedy, they would be brought together by mythos. Plot nahi hai khali, it's everything that the play is about. The character, the flaw, the anagnosis, the mimesis, everything would be brought together by the mythos. This is the basic thing, the general air, the general impression that you get of the play. Catharsis, हम already twice discussed कर चुके, but we'll do it once again. That it's used by doctors in Greek, जब इसको purgation कहते थे, ठीक है. जब वो you have heard of these जोंके जो वो जिस्म के साथ लगा देते थे, so that the dirty blood is sucked out by them, ठीक है. इसी तरह जो थे priests थे वो use करते थे term for purification. That is when you cry in confession, you go to the priest, you talk of your sins, you confess कि मैंने ये कुछ गलत किया है, you cry and you're purified then, ठीक है. This term catharsis is used by Aristotle. He says that a Greek tragedy or a tragedy, a well-written tragedy, is going to give rise to the emotions of pity and fear, and as a result of these emotions coming to the surface, you're going to go through the process of purgation. Purgation किस चीज़ की होगी? In emotions की. You're going to have a catharsis. You'll cry, you'll scream, और किसी और तरह से भी ये सारे इमोशंस आपकी बॉडी से निकल जाएंगे, एंड देन योर इमोशन लेवल वुड बी स्टेबल. So this is what catharsis is. It is clarifying your body of unstable emotions. Then we have peripecia. Peripecia क्या होता है? It's a reversal from good to bad or from bad to good. ठीक है? It's often occurs at the climax prompted by anagnosis. Anagnosis, I've already told you, is the process of recognition. ठीक है? जब recognition होगी किसी fact की, when they came to know कि what was something that they didn't know already, or something that was hidden from them, when that fact comes to light, there's a sudden reversal of fortunes. Either they become good when they were bad, or they would become bad when they were good. Like अच्छी सिचुएशन से बुरी सिचुएशन की तरफ और बुरी सिचुएशन से अच्छी सिचुएशन की तरफ जा सकते हैं. हालात, चीज़ें, कैरेक्टर्स, whatever is important or whatever was happening in that play at that period of time, at the climax, जब anagnosis हुआ, तो जो reversal होगा ना, that is known as peripecia. That is the reversal of fate of the protagonist. इस पॉइंट से आगे की तरफ चीज़ें जो हैं वो कंक्लूजन की तरफ जाना शुरू हो जाती है. दिस इज़ द पॉइंट वेयर थिंग्स स्टार्ट टू डाउनफॉल होनी है, या डाउनफॉल की जगह कुछ और भी होना है. जो कुछ भी होगा वो इस पॉइंट से होगा. पहले सबसे आता है एनाग्नोसिस का पॉइंट आएगा. एनाग्नोसिस इज रिकग्निशन. उस रिकग्निशन इज फॉलोड बाय परपेशिया, एंड परपेशिया के बाद क्या होगा? परपेशिया इज द रिवर्सल. बिकॉज ऑफ दैट रिकग्निशन, रिवर्सल ऑफ फॉर्च्यून विल टेक प्लेस. And then comes Lucius. Lucius क्या है? This is undying. आपने anagnosis हुआ. You recognize the fact. You found out something about yourself or about someone else. There was a, क्या कहते हैं उसको? एक इंकशाफ आप पे हुआ. उस इंकशाफ के नतीजे में there's a reversal of fortune, which is known as peripecia. And as a result of that peripecia, Lucius take place. Untying. Closely knit चीज़ आहिस्ता आहिस्ता उधड़ना शुरू हो जाएगी. This is what Lucius is. Untying of things, going towards complete downfall, crumbling down of a well-knit picture. Its climax onwards, its all threads woven in daces are slowly unraveled until the conclusion is reached. ठीक है? आहिस्ता आहिस्ता चीज़ें बिखरना शुरू हो जाएंगी. The beginning of the play, things that seemed so compact, so well, so neutral, so stable, they reach the stage of climax, and the climax anagnosis occurs. Anagnosis followed by peripecia, and peripecia is followed by Lucius. और Lucius क्या था? जब चीज़ें finally उधड़ना शुरू हो गई, crumble होना शुरू हो गई, बिखरना शुरू हो गई. Lucius is the stage where the things that have been closely knit together in deces, they move away, they are torn asunder. यहाँ पे term आती है deces की. Deces is tying or weaving the thread, all action leading up to climax. जो क्लाइमेक्स से पहले जो सब कुछ हो रहा था ना, जो एटमॉस्फेयर क्रिएट किया जा रहा था, जो सारी चीज़ें बताई जा रही थी, कैरेक्टर्स एक्सप्लेन हो रहे थे, all these things, they're known as deces. चीज़ें, things put together, things woven together, things, जैसे सिलाई में होता है कि एक धागा इधर से एक धागा इधर से आपस में लगा कर नॉट लगा दी, फिर एक और लगा दिया, फिर नॉट लगा दी, इससे पूरा एक चीज़ बन जाती है ना. जिससे कारपेट बनाते हैं, बुनते हैं, उसमें सिलाई होती है, बार बार चीज़ें धागे आपस में मिलाते हैं, वो पूरा एक होल आपके सामने आता है. इसी तरह आप इमेजिन कर लें कि पूरे जो डेसेस की सिचुएशन है उसमें वो कारपेट बुनते हैं, एक रग को, दे कीप ऑन वीविंग अ रग, एंड व्हेन दे रीच द स्टेज ऑफ लूसिस, देयर द रग इज टर्न अपॉन. एक एक करके धागा खींचता जाता है, गिरता जाता है, बिखरता जाता है, एंड एवरीथिंग कम्स टू एन एंड, एंड दैट्स अ कंप्लीट डाउनफॉल. अच्छा, अब एरिस्टोटल की थ्योरी पे इशू क्या है लोगों को? एरिस्टोटल की थ्योरी अच्छी है, एक्सप्लेन करती है, पर इस पे इशू ये है कि एरिस्टोटल ने इसको अप्रोच किया है बाकी साइंसेस की तरह. ही सेज दैट ही हैज़ कलेक्टेड द अवेलेबल डाटा. ठीक है, दिस इज हाउ साइंटिफिक रिसर्च गोज. इट गोज कि यू कलेक्ट एवरीथिंग दैट इज अवेलेबल, you collect the data, you analyze it, and on the basis of the analysis you give certain thesis, that is you give certain laws. उन thesis से सब certain laws draw करते हैं, then you apply that law on everything. This happens in science. जैसे आइजैक न्यूटन की अगर आप बात करते हैं कि उसने 3 laws of motion दे दिए थे ना, 3 laws of motion दे दिए थे, every action is an equal and opposite reaction, और इस तरह की जो बातें 3-4 उसने की थी. तो अगर आप आर्ट को भी इस तरह लेंगे तो दिस पीपल से इज नॉट exactly right, because art is something that is going to be against rule. Generally art जो होती है, this is violating whatever is accepted as norm in the previous generation. ठीक है ना, जो मेरी जनरेशन जिस चीज़ को वायलेट करेगी, जो मेरे पेरेंट्स की जनरेशन करती थी, वो बिलीव करती थी, दे गोइंग टू वायलेट दैट. आपकी जनरेशन उसको वायलेट करेगी जिसको मेरी जनरेशन बिलीव करती थी. सो आर्ट इज ऑल अबाउट वायलेटिंग द नॉर्म्स, डूइंग समथिंग आउट ऑफ ऑर्डिनरी. सो इफ यू अप्लाई रूल्स टू द आर्ट, इट sort of does not make sense. So he defines 6 elements of tragedy. He identifies plot is very important. He identifies that there should be a purpose of tragedy, and there is a purpose of tragedy because it's going to cause catharsis. He says that there are certain theories which makes a good tragedy. That is a certain type of hero which should have a certain tragic flaw, and this should be the tragic flaw should cause his downfall. His theories are not believed on personal taste, but what is most effective. He believes that this is what is going to make a tragedy most effective. All these things that I've just narrated, that these elements should be there. He believes that this kind of plot should be there. He believes that there should be a hero who should have a tragic flaw, who should go through a downfall. And as a result of downfall, there should be certain purpose that should be achieved. And as a result of that purpose, that tragedy would be very effective. He's not saying that he likes it, but he says this is what it should do. आप criticism पढ़ रहे हैं, so you should understand what Aristotle is trying to do here. He's trying to make you, he's trying to tell you what makes a good tragedy. This is criticism. ना criticism आपको बताता है कि कोई चीज़ अच्छी है या बुरी है. तो Aristotle आपको यही बता रहा है कि tragedy में अगर ये चीज़ें होंगी तो फिर वो tragedy अच्छी है. So this is, he's telling you how to appreciate a good, critically appreciate a good tragedy. ठीक है? So this is what he says. अब इसमें जो इशू है ना वो ये है कि ये हो नहीं सकता. ठीक है, यू कैन नॉट से कि ये कुछ होगा तो ट्रेजेडी अच्छी होगी. अब जैसे आप नाम लेते हो सैमुअल बेकेट का. सैमुअल बेकेट हैज रिटन वेटिंग फॉर गोडो. ठीक है, ही इज कंसिडर्ड वन ऑफ द मोस्ट फेमस playwrights, and he's the father of this modern drama. और इस तरह के बड़े नाम है उसके. एब्सर्ड ड्रामा लिखता था बेसिकली. तो अब जो एब्सर्ड ड्रामा है उसमें तो कोई प्लॉट ही नहीं होता, उसमें तो कोई एक्ट्स नहीं होते, उसमें तो कोई यूनिटी ऑफ प्लॉट, नो यूनिटी ऑफ कैरेक्टर, नो यूनिटी ऑफ एक्शन, नथिंग व्हाटसोएवर. लाइक वेटिंग फॉर गोडो, दे टू पीपल, पोजो एंड लकी. Yes, Pozo and Lucky, and they're standing beneath a tree. The entire play passes, and they keep on standing there waiting for Godot. We do not know what Godot is, who Godot is, when is he coming, or why is he coming, or do they know for sure whether he's coming? कुछ पता नहीं है, और उनको भी कुछ पता नहीं है. उनको ये भी नहीं पता कि ये दिन है कि रात है, कौन सा दिन है हफ्ते का, कुछ नहीं पता. Completely absurd, and it's one of the greatest tragedies. ठीक है, greatest dramas of his time. So जो अगर आप रूल्स दे देंगे तो रूल्स जो हैं वो एग्जैक्टली अप्लाई नहीं हो सकते किसी भी आर्ट फॉर्म में, बिकॉज आर्ट जनरली वायलेट्स रूल्स एंड ट्रेडिशन एंड व्हाटएवर द नॉर्म इज. सो इसके अलावा आप एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हैं शेक्सपियर की. शेक्सपियर डज नॉट फॉलो व्हाटएवर एज एरिस्टोटल हैज रिटन एज फार एज ट्रेजेडी गोज. उसकी बहुत सी ट्रेजेडीज हैं जो कम्प्लीटली वायलेट करती हैं इन चीज़ों को, बट इवन देन इज कंसिडर्ड वन ऑफ द ग्रेटेस्ट ड्रामेटिस्ट. उसकी ट्रेजेडीज ही ज़्यादा फेमस हैं, कॉमेडीज उसकी इतनी फेमस नहीं हैं. सो यू कांट आस्क पीपल टू give them rules and apply them on art as far as art goes. This is the basic criticism we have on Aristotle की theory, that you can't ask them to follow certain rules. आपने rules दे दिए, ठीक है, आपका ख्याल है कि अच्छी tragedy में ये rules होने चाहिए, लेकिन you can't ask people to follow them completely. उनको laws नहीं आप बना सकते. अच्छा, अब इसमें एक और issue ये भी है कि we don't have much data. We have the plays by 3 playwrights, ठीक है, Greek playwrights, और जो उनके 33 plays हमारे पास हैं. And we don't have, there were thousands of tragedies probably written by Aristotle that time, but not by Aristotle in Aristotle's time, but we do not know that. So अब Aristotle ने किन tragedies को observe करके rules दिए थे, क्योंकि जो tragedies हमारे पास available हैं, they are not the same tragedies which were given by, they're not the same kind of tragedies which Aristotle is describing. ठीक है, अच्छा जी. Then we're going to start with chapter number 1 and 3. This is the entire criticism that we have on Aristotle's theory. So उसके बाद Aristotle जो है वो chapter number 1 start करेंगे हम poetics का. The chapter number 1 I don't want to start with you today. We're going to start it in the next class. We're just going to give you a general outlook on that chapter. and the chapter is going to be about what he thinks poetry is and how he approaches it from a scientific viewpoint. I've already told you कि ये तो एरिस्टोटल की जो सबसे बड़ा क्रिटिसिज्म है उसमें वो यही है कि वो पोइट्री को साइंटिफिक तरीके से ले रहा है. वो कह रहा है कि जी पोइट्री जो है ना, पहली चीज़ वो जो डिस्क्राइब करते हैं कि पोइट्री जो डिफरेंट काइंड्स की होती है. इफ़ यू कैन सी दैट पोइट्री वुड बी is in the form of pure poetry, it's either in the form of tragedy, it's in the form of comedy, it's in the form of dithyrambic, it's flute playing, lyre playing. All kinds of poetry would be mimetic, but there are going to be differences in them. And what are the differences going to be? It's going to be the mean they employ. किस तरह वो पोइट्री पहुँचाई जा रही है, क्या वो सिंपल कपलेट्स की फॉर्म में आ रही है, ड्रामा की फॉर्म में आ रही है, फ्लूट के साथ गाना बज रहा है, क्या चीज़ है. इट्स वेदर इट हैज़ रिदम, लैंग्वेज एंड हार्मनी. और कुछ इस तरह की पोइट्री की फॉर्म्स होंगी जो सिर्फ रिदम यूज़ करेंगे, कुछ ऐसी होंगी जो सिर्फ हार्मनी यूज़ करेंगे, कुछ ऐसी हैं जो सिर्फ लैंग्वेज पर फोकस करेंगे. जो सेकेंड डिस्टिंक्शन है इन पोइट्री की डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स में वो ये है कि ऑब्जेक्ट्स आर इमिटेटेड, action is represented with agents, and in tragedy and epic poetry these agents are better than us, and in comedy they are worse than us. ठीक है, पोइट्री सारी की सारी मिमेटिक होगी, उसमें एजेंट्स होंगे, ऑब्जेक्ट्स होंगे, उनको इमिटेट किया जाएगा, बट द एजेंट्स इन द केस ऑफ एपिक पोइट्री एंड इन द केस ऑफ ट्रेजेडी दे वुड बी बेटर देन अस. The characters, the protagonists, they'd be better than us, but in the case of comedy they would be worse than us. I mean, हमसे नीचे होंगे इसलिए तो हम उन पे हंसेंगे, because we'll feel superior then, and when we'll feel superior then we'll laugh at them, we'll find them ridiculous. The third or the final distinction is of course in the manner of representation, whether it's direct narrative or it's through characters. जो generally poetry में ये होता है, जैसे होमर का इलियड आप लेते हैं, तो इलियड में होमर sometimes narrates himself, like he tells the story, the poet is telling the story, and sometimes the character they speak. But in the case of tragedy, like in Oedipus or in Shakespeare की tragedies, all these tragedies, the characters, they are the mouthpiece of the writer. Of course the words are of the writer, this is what the writer wants to say, but the manner of speaking or the manner of narrating or the manner of presentation, it differs. This is the different distinctions that Aristotle gives you in a form of in different forms of poetry. So to start from the beginning, we discuss Aristotle's Poetics is the book that we're going to follow here, and we're going to study his early life. So we discussed Plato ने क्या कहा आर्ट के बारे में रिपब्लिक में. He called it imitation, he called it twice removed from reality, and he called that it is not good for your soul, as it is going to violate the soul, it's going to make the soul unreasonable, not search for truth, and as a result harm it overall. ठीक है. So Aristotle की जो early life थी, then we discussed that. And Aristotle, what did he do? He was a student of Plato, and for almost 20 years. He went to his academy when he was 17 years old, and he came back when he died. And he became a tutor to Alexander, and he did scientific researches. So when he left Alexander, he came back to Athens, and here he made his own academy, his own school on the steps of the Lyceum. ठीक है, और इसने ये academy continue की for a longer period of time. When he was forced to leave it, okay? And he died after a year of leaving his academy, and this academy continued in Athens for a very long period of time. We do not have much of his works, we do not know what he has written because it has not been published, but this Poetics that we have is supposed to be a very big book, but we have a very little portion of it. And it's other than this Poetics, he has written a book on comedy as well, and we do not have that book. It's not available, it's not published, it's not, anywhere in the world. People don't know what he has written about comedy. Achha, focus of Poetics is on tragedy basically and epic poetry. He's going to tell you what tragedy is, how it should be written, what should be the elements of tragedy, and tragedy बहुत important थी Greek उसमें atmosphere में, because generally जो season festivals होते थे, festivals is celebrating gods, it's changes of season, उनमें ये dramas जो थे ये present किए जाते थे, and they were of great importance because in festivals में जो drama present किया जाता था, people used to like them very much, and the writer whose drama was liked much, was appreciated, critically appreciated, he became extremely successful and extremely famous overnight for that matter. ठीक है, इसमें एरिस्टोटल ने एपिक पोइट्री को भी डिस्कस किया है. एपिक पोइट्री के लिए हमारे पास एग्जांपल ऑफ कोर्स होमर की है, जिसने इलियड लिखी थी और ओडिसिस लिखी थी, एंड ही इज वेरी मच लाइक्ड बाय द ग्रीक्स. Influence poetics का बहुत ज़्यादा रहा है critical theories पे, even in the 19th century, because people believe कि Aristotle gave the rules for tragedy, and they were considered, these rules were then made into law and people followed them strictly into the Renaissance, well into the 19th century. He also said that poetry is imitation. This is what Plato said as well. So it's imitation which is done by using beautiful language, and we, because we love, as humans we love imitation, so we like poetry as well, we're drawn to it. That is why the earliest form of literature is poetry. So he says कि जो tragedy लिखी जाएगी ना, उस tragedy में dramatic form use होगी. It should be about a protagonist who should be a great character, far above the people who are reading about it. It should arouse emotion of pity and fear, which should lead to catharsis. And he divides tragedy into 6 components, which is mythos, a character, thought, diction, melody, and spectacle. And he believes there should be a unity of plot. The plot should have a clear beginning, a clear middle, a clear end. There should be no loose ends. Okay? He believes that the tragic hero should have a tragic flaw, and because of that tragic flaw, he's going to have a downfall. And that downfall, of course, is going to give rise to the feelings of emotions of pity and fear. The tragic flaw is something, it's an error on part of the hero, which is not something big. It should not necessarily something big. It could be something small that he has done, something that he has not done, something that he does knowingly, or something that he does unknowingly. It's not important for that matter. So he says that epic poetry is like tragedy, but tragedy is a little better than epic poetry because it's it has several elements put together. The important terms that we discussed today were mimesis, this is imitation in the rough sense, in the rough translation, and this is an imitation of the life. It should create an idea in your mind of things that you know, things or ideas or memories that you have. Okay? It should tell stories of the world in which you live, or if it talks about stories of a world that you do not know, it should be written in such a way that you believe these stories. Hamartia, or the tragic flaw or the error, is the tragic flaw or the error of the protagonist, something that's going to cause his downfall, something that would make him fall from a height of glory towards misery, from being happy to being miserable. So next thing is anagnosis, that is recognition or discovery, something that a hero discovers about some other character or someone else, or something that he discovers about himself. It generally occurs in the climax of a drama, of a play. Then there is mythos. Mythos roughly translated as plot, but it is much more than plot. It's what the entire play is about. It brings together all the elements of a piece of art and gives you the impression of what that piece of art is all about. Catharsis is, venting out the feelings, making purification, purgation. It's clarifying the soul of these emotions of pity and fear. It's after you have your catharsis, your emotional level would be neutral and it would be stable. Then there is perpetua, and perpetua is followed by anagnosis. Anagnosis, I've already told you, is recognition or discovery, and as a result of this recognition or discovery, there is a reversal of fortune. The hero would move from bad to good, or from good to bad, generally from good to bad. And the anagnosis and perpetua is then followed by lucis. And lucis is what? It's the untying of the entire fabric. Things that have been put together, very hard work in days, then just start falling. इस तरह situation जो है वो conclusion की तरफ जाना शुरू हो जाती है. Then we have daces. I've already told you that daces is moving towards the climax. जो उससे पहले सारा कोई action हो रहा होता है ना, that is daces. Whatever leads to the climax, that is daces. That is weaving the rug together. अच्छा, अब इसकी जो थेरी थी, ये हमें आपको ऑलरेडी बता चुकी हूँ कि इसकी थेरी में कुछ चंद बातें थी कि पोइट्री एक तो इमिटेशन होगी, मिमेसिस होगा, देयर इज गोइंग टू बी यूनिटी ऑफ प्लॉट, देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ हीरो हु इज गोइंग टू हैव अ ट्रैजिक फ्लॉ, एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ ट्रैजिक फ्लॉ देयर इज गोइंग टू बी अ डाउनफॉल, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दैट डाउनफॉल यू आर गोइंग टू हैव दीज फीलिंग्स ऑफ पिटी एंड फेयर, एंड यू आर गोइंग टू हैव योर कैथारसिस. उसके ख्याल में, Aristotle के ख्याल में, these things are important in a tragedy. If you do not have these things, then there's going to be no tragedy. He is dealing with it as he is dealing with any science, that he's going to collect the data, he's going to analyze the data, and then he's going to give you laws. This is what he has done here as well. But the problem here is that in art you cannot do that, because you know, it means that when you give laws, it means that this is something that is going to govern all action. Whatever happens, whatever tragedy is written would be like this. But this is not how it happens. I've given you the example of Samuel Beckett, I've given you the example of Shakespeare as well. These people, they've written tragedies, but the tragedies are not, you know, following these rules exactly, and still they're good tragedies. Okay? So writer violate these things. The artist, they always violate these norms, these hard and fast rules. This is what art is all about, violating existing norms and creating something that is out of the normal. That is what good art is. And the second important problem here that arises is that we do not have enough data. We do not know which tragedies it's talking about. We only have 33 tragedies, and these 33 tragedies, not many of them follow whatever Aristotle has to say about tragedy. Some of them does. Oedipus Rex, for example, is the perfect example of Greek tragedy if described according to Aristotle, but the rest of them, they don't actually follow them. Okay? Then we have these, I give you a, you know, sort of preview of what we're going to study in poetics. We discussed only first 3 chapters, जिसमें उसने poetry की different forms describe की, और उसने आपको बताया कि poetry की different forms जो हैं वो एक दूसरे से distinct होती हैं on the basis of 3 things. Either they are because of the manner, or the things, or the elements, और the use, I mean कि वो harmony और तीनों चीज़ें इकट्ठी यूज़ होंगी, या वो चीज़ें अलग अलग यूज़ होंगी, और या फिर ये कि जो objects imitate होंगे, characters imitate होंगे, कुछ में जो है वो कैरेक्टर्स जो हैं, एजेंट्स जो है वो आपसे बेहतर होंगे, और कुछ में वो एजेंट्स जो हैं वो आपसे नीचे दर्जे के होंगे. और तीसरी इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्टिंक्शन जो आती है डिफरेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ पोइट्री में, वो ये होती है कि वो किस तरह प्रेजेंट की गई है. इज द पोएट नरेटिंग व्हाटएवर इज देयर टू बी नरेटेड, और द कैरेक्टर्स नरेटिंग द फैक्ट. सो इट डिफर्स फ्रॉम one poetry form of poetry to the other form of poetry. So that's about all. In the next lecture we are going to discuss almost the first five chapters of poetics, and we are going to try and analyze whatever Aristotle has to say about different forms of tragedy and poetry. Thank you.